Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your homies over here today, bringing you guys a brand new video. Now, in today's video, we're going to be doing a review of the Pulsar X2V2. This is the medium size. Shout out to Boardzy. I actually won this in his 10 days of Christmas giveaway. I've been using it for some weeks now, and I've definitely formed my opinion on it. Like I said, this is the medium size of the mouse. It is 55 grams with a 3395 sensor for $100 without the 4K dongle. The 4K dongle is sold separately and is $20, but without further ado, let's get right into it. I'd also just like to preface and say that I never owned an X2 or a X2 Mini. I did have a little bit of playtime on a friend's unit, but I do not have my own copy, nor do I have one here for comparison. But from what I can tell, there are a few main differences when comparing the X2 to the X2V2. So first, let's talk about the shape and the weight. Pulsar is advertising 53 grams for the medium, but I'm getting 55 grams on my scale. It still feels exceptionally light in hand for the size of the mouse. Compared to the original X2, it's a 2 or 3 gram difference, which isn't noticeable in hand for me, but the shape of the X2 medium is really like no other. From first glance, it may look like an XM1 clone, but the sides on the XM1 just go in so much more, whereas the sides on the X2V2 are very flat. I have no problem clawing this mouse with my 19x11 hands, and I wouldn't recommend getting this over the X2 Mini for claw, especially if you have the medium to large size hands. The X2 medium is 4mm longer, 2mm wider, and 1mm taller than the X2 Mini. I personally don't love this shape. The sides being flat was not something that I enjoyed. I like having more of a side groove to grip into, and I feel like it gives me more precision when aiming when I do have those side grooves. Comparing it to something like the GPX2, the hump on the GPX is a lot more centered, making the mouse feel longer, and the GPX2 contacts the palm of the hand more when you claw grip. Like I said, this shape is unique, but it just isn't one of my favorites because of those flat sides. I need to have a side that curves in a little bit at least to be able to get some sort of grip, and this mouse has like a slight side curve, but not as much as I like. Next, I'd like to talk about the clicks and the build quality. The X2V2 has no side flexing whatsoever. I can literally stubby squeeze this mouse and it is just not going anywhere. It is solid as a rock. Any QC issues that the original X2 had are completely gone on my copy of the X2V2. As far as the clicks, these are optical switches. I've heard that the original X2 had many issues, including grinding issues, squeaking, and scroll wheel problems. In my time with this mouse, I've not had any issues with any of these things. The optical switches feel absolutely amazing. I'll do a sound test versus the Logitech hybrid optical mechanical switch. The scroll wheel steps feel absolutely perfect. I'll talk about that a little later on in the video as well. The only quote-unquote issue I've had with these clicks is that they get stuck the first time I click them in a gaming session. I can't get it to do it right now because I've been using the mouse all day, but they do get stuck occasionally on my first time using it in the session. I don't know why that happens, but I've heard other people had that issue as well. Once I'm actually playing, it doesn't happen. So, I mean, there's pretty much no issues. I'm just kind of nitpicking with that. There's no issues with double clicking on lowest debounce, no pre-travel, a tiny bit of post-travel, but it's not noticeable in game. See if I can show you guys that. There's absolutely no wobbling either. I'll show you guys that as well. I literally can't get these clicks to wobble. I can't get them to creak. I can't get them to do any kind of QC issue. This mouse is absolutely rock solid. The scroll wheel was upgraded from the TTC Gold Dustproof to the Pulsar Blue Dustproof, and the scroll wheel feels a lot more spammable now than when I had originally tried the X2. The side buttons feel very premium. They're very spammable. They're not mushy at all like the GPX. They're perfectly located for my grip as well. Like claw gripping it, the side buttons are right there and I don't really have to adjust my grip too much to get to them. Overall, the clicks and the build feel extremely premium. I'm super impressed with this. Next, we can cover the sensor and the coding. The 4K implementation on the 3395 is very smooth. It feels very responsive. 4K is not a groundbreaking feature, but I would say it is starting to become necessary to compete with other companies in the market. I'm glad to see Pulsar is staying with the curve. Using 4K, I am getting about 3 to 4 days of gameplay out of the battery, which isn't the best, but it isn't the worst either. The coding feels great. It's very grippy. It feels rubberized, and even with sweaty hands, I have no problems holding onto this mouse. The coating honestly feels similar to the GPX, but it just doesn't get as slippery when my hands are sweaty. I really like this coating. This mouse feels extremely premium. I know you guys have heard me say that for this entire video so far, but I really can't stress it enough. Like, this mouse feels very, very premium. In conclusion, I don't think upgrading to the V2 from the regular X2 is necessary by any means. If you have one of the earlier batches with the QC issues or the shittier coating, then yes, I would say it might be worth it to upgrade to the V2. But if you have a newer batch and you're trying to decide if you want to make the upgrade, it really just comes down to performance. Do you care enough about latency to upgrade to 4K Hertz? That seems to be the big question these days. And in my opinion, 4K Hertz is superior and I can tell the difference in FPS games, but you may not be able to, and that's fine. You also may not play a game where you need super low latency, and that's fine as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was insightful. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.